into Rock Chalk Sports here on KansasNation.com. Thanks for listening as well on ESPN Kansas City. Alongside Dan Courtwright, I am Sean Kellerman, and we'll let you know what we've got going on for a big show today. But first, we got to get to it right off the top. Dan, I know we needed to discuss this in our opening segment. Carlos Alcaraz wins his second men's singles U.S. Open championship.
That's the biggest thing that happened this weekend.
We're going to spend the first half hour or so on the show today talking about the U.S. Open. Yannick Sinner falls.
Let's go ahead and spend the whole show on.
Yeah, let's go 2 hours.
There's
Alcaraz over Sinner.
Happened, right? There's nothing really
here in the opening segment. We are breaking down the football game that took place in Columbia on Saturday that didn't go KU's way. Have that here to start things off. We'll get our reaction to that, what went wrong for KU, and what needs to change moving forward as the Hawks fall to 2-1. Next segment, we're going to hear from the head man himself, Lance Leipold, post-game. And Dan, it was a very interesting post-game setup for Coach Leipold.
Yeah, it was a little bit of an interesting post-game setup. They kind of had him tucked away in a little storage closet area, kind of underneath the bleachers. Very petty move by I don't know if they do that for all of their coaches or what, but it was like it was a deep, long room. The width of it was probably 6 feet long. Not great for the post-game presser, but it is what it is. A lot of pettiness. It's over.
Yeah, just get out of there, right? Get out of there.
Past in the past. Look forward. We got a bye week right now, so I'm looking forward to that.
Well, hey, the next Border War game is going to be September 12th of next year. That's what I'm looking forward to. Make sure you get a season ticket for that, by the way. Otherwise, you ain't going to get in because that's going to be a very important game, and KU fans are going to be even more riled up than they were before the game that took place on Saturday. So after hearing from Coach, we're going to bring on a special guest, Kevin Flaherty, Kansas City Sports Network, get his thoughts in studio on the game, the path forward for Kansas football, and some KU basketball talk as well. Boot Camp 2025 got underway very early this morning. Dan was not awake. He did not take part in the boot camp. But
that was this morning?
We'll talk a little KU basketball.
Oh,
you
man,
missed it? That's a real bummer.
Coach Self.
That's a real bummer. Case of the Mondays. Well, KU lost. The Chiefs lost. We've got a bit of a case of the Mondays ourselves, but we have that segment in full for you at 5 o'clock. Have some stories from across the landscape of sports. And following that, we'll talk Chiefs football in more detail as they fell Friday night. It was supposed to be a joyous Friday night, right? And then a span of 24 hours, we saw both our football teams lose. That was a bummer. Break that down as well. Then at the end of the show, little update on the Royals. They took 2 out of 3 from the Twins over the weekend at Kauffman Stadium, which is great news. But just a 4-5 homestand for the Royals. With the loss yesterday and the Seattle Mariners win, the Royals are 2 back of the Mariners, who hold the final playoff spot in the American League right now. Texas also a half game up on the Royals. The Royals do have the tiebreaker over the Rangers, so there is that. But 13 of the final 19 games of the regular season for the Royals are on the road, so they've got a little bit of a steep hill to climb. That being said, we'll keep you updated on that. And some good news regarding Cole Reagans as well. We'll get to that before we break down the rest of the college football slate and anything else NFL-wise that we don't touch on in our case of the Monday segment. All right, Dan, good to see you. Good to see you in one piece.
Yes.
KU came out with the red legs and the white tops. They had the white jerseys and the red pants, and certainly were ready for a battle. Started great, 21-6. Kansas got ahead of Mizzou, and then the second, third quarter, things just kind of got weird. We really didn't see KU's offense out there, and when we did, it was short. It was not very efficient. That being said, Kansas still had an opportunity to win this thing. In the third quarter, KU would go up 31-28, and then Mizzou would score the final 2 touchdowns of the game as KU defensively was out there all day, couldn't get off the field on the money downs of 3rd and 4th downs. More on that, more on what went wrong here in a bit. But first, Dan, your takeaways from the loss on Saturday.
Yeah, I have quite a few takeaways that I want to get to. First and foremost, I'm being serious about this. I do want to put the past in the past because I have an immense amount of hatred for that team out east, and I just want to forget this. And I knew we were going to have to relive this on Monday. It's a good thing that today's show is coming out today. If you'd have had to if we would have had to do a 2-hour show like immediately after this game, I would have
I
got
can't imagine.
FCC violation. Oh, you did. That's right. You did have to do that on Learfield. Yeah, not me. I would have had FCC violations. I would have, have lawyers contacting me. It would have been a whole big deal. I would have been on some kind of watch list, I'm sure. I've cooled down now. I'm okay. My dog is no longer scared of me. I'm sure I was scaring him during the process of that game, but we're here. It's Monday. The sun came up twice since then, shockingly, and yeah, it's going to be okay. We'll go through the game, and I do want to start off by saying that I did think that Kansas looked good in the open. Like you said, they were up 21-6 right away. Deshaun Hanika had a hell of a catch over the top for his second touchdown of the year. Also found him in the end zone once again. So I thought Deshaun Hanika was really the star of the show in terms of on the offense for this game. He kind of, to me, seemed like the failsafe, right? We always thought it was going to be Cam Pickett, the guy who gets those 7, 8, 9, receptions or whatever it may be. But all of a sudden, we saw Deshaun Hanika working in the middle of the field, working down the sideline. We saw him quite a bit. So it was good to see Hanika get some of that work in. That was one of my main things that I did like about this game. I liked the pacing of this game. That turnover, that scoop and score for Kansas in the open was very huge. I mean, that was such a momentum shifter. And then things started to come unraveled, right? You had the illegally batted ball, and I want to be on record saying that was an illegally batted ball into the end zone for a safety. Again, I'm not going to get all worked up about this because it's Monday and it's in the past, but it was an illegally batted ball, one of the worst calls I've ever seen in my life. Unreviewable, I guess. Somebody needs to bring that up. So that made the score 21-15. It was 21-13 because Kansas blocked an extra point. Then a couple field goals later, all of a sudden, it's 21-21. Latham Arjon hits another field goal, and then Norfleet, their tight end, just absolutely killed us there at the end, as well as Kevon Coleman. Oh my goodness, that kid was incredible as well. I mean, he was wearing number 3. He looked like Luther Burden out there. He really did. Now, I'll give credit where credit's due. I think Luther Burden was a very good wide receiver, still is. And I mean, he's just filling into those shoes. I thought Bill Prabula looked really good. Some things that I want figured out for the Jayhawks, and we can go more in depth about this, but first things first, the run game. Atrocious. Daniel Highshaw only had 12 yards. Le'Shawn Williams only had 4 yards. Jalen Daniels had the most yards. He had 46 in terms of rushing. The wide receivers and the communication there. I mean, there was quite a few drops that I saw that were not on Jalen Daniels, right? We saw the Emmanuel Henderson drop towards the end of the game that essentially would have given Kansas momentum going down the field. It was a big third down there. Now, Kansas decided to punt after that, and that's a different conversation for a different day. I think they should have gone for it. Obviously, the analytics might have said otherwise. It was, I believe, Michael Swain from Fog.net put this out there. It was going to be a 12% chance of winning if Kansas did punt, and an 11% chance if they went for it on fourth down. I don't necessarily agree. Those analytics don't make a lot of sense to me, because when you look at analytics, when you look at numbers, it doesn't necessarily tell the story of the game, and it doesn't take into account momentum. And I'm a big believer in momentum. I know some of the nerds out there don't believe in momentum. They all only believe in analytics. I believe in momentum, and if Kansas would have gotten that fourth down, we would have had momentum. We could have gone down there and scored. So I thought punting there was probably a bad move. But again, I'm not on the coaching staff, so what do I know? And then the secondary. I thought the secondary played atrocious. I thought that at the beginning of the game, they were fine, but there was just way too many open receivers in the middle of the field, and a lot of third down conversions. Hell, a lot of times where they didn't even have to convert on third down because they were getting it on first and second down. So secondary atrocious. I'm glad to see Bengali Kamara got out there. He looked really good. And then that front seven just did not impress me, except for Leroy Harris. Leroy Harris seemed to be the only one who you really heard about, right? We saw Tommy Dunn and DJ Withers get in there and get some pressure, but at the same time, they're going against an SEC offensive line. So it's got to be really, really tough, right? I don't think they have any stats to back that up, but they did get a little bit of pressure from time to time. That's not enough when you have a guy who can do it on his legs, like Bo Prabula, and with Ahmad Hardy, who had an outstanding game. This is the first time, I believe, I think it was like 2016 or maybe 2006, one of the two, that they had two different rushers, two different running backs over 100 yards. Jamal Roberts had 143. Ahmad Hardy had 116. Both of them had a touchdown. So the Kansas front seven needed to do a better job. That's where I said this game was going to be won or lost, was in Mizzou's run game, and they just ran it all over us.
Well, there's a lot of takeaways, obviously, and I think you brought up one of the positives, which is Bengali Kamara was back. He wasn't on the depth chart earlier this season. He made an impact early and often in this one. I don't know where to begin other than let's start at the beginning of the game, right? Kansas, despite going 3-and-out, gets the blocked PAT that gave him a little bit of momentum, and eventually he get the defensive touchdown in between a JD passing touchdown to Hanukkah and a JD rushing touchdown on a quarterback sneak. KU's up 21-6, but then Mizzou would have a 17-play drive and a 15-play drive around the one disastrous play that happened to Jalen Daniels and the KU offense. So 32 out of 33 plays, KU's defense was out there, and the offense was relegated to the sideline. The one offensive play, as you alluded to, Dan, it was illegally batted, not called, and then not reviewable. Credit to Kobe Baines of Kansas for hustling back and falling on that so that Mizzou would only get 2 points instead of 6 or 7, and KU kept the lead. But if that had had been called correctly, Kansas would have kept the possession of the ball. Yeah, it would have been 2nd and 20 or whatever, but they would have had the possession of the ball, plus they would have still been up by 8. Instead, that leads to 9. I guess technically it led to 5 points because they had the safety and then ended up getting the field goal after that. But the bottom line is Kansas defense was out there the entire second quarter because the one offensive play you had was disastrous for one reason or another. And then Mizzou offensively was doing so many things methodically. They were converting, they were catching everything, and Kansas couldn't get the stop. And I talked a lot in the postgame locker room show about this, but we talk a lot about complementary football as it relates to an offense, like, okay, a passing game and running game, right? Well, complementary football in this case meant the offense and the defense aren't complementing each other. The offense couldn't maintain possession of the ball long enough to get the defense a break. And then on the flip side, the defense could not get off the field to allow the offense to get any sort of rhythm. KU's offense had great rhythm, those 2 possessions in the first quarter after the initial 3-and-out. And then, like I said, just they're getting dry on the sideline, not having a chance to get out there. And sure enough, Mizzou was converting. Another thing regarding the 3rd and 4th down conversions, which is very important, and we look at that stat a lot, but it was crucial in this one. Mizzou 10 of 19 on 3rd down conversions, 4 of 5 on 4th down conversions, and something that probably needs to be talked about more. David Lawrence brought this up. When Mizzou doesn't have a kicker, essentially, like they didn't, you play a lot freer if you're the coaching staff, and you have no issue going for it on 4th down when otherwise you might be second-guessing that and wondering if you should kick a field goal. Not only did it result in touchdowns often for Mizzou, having that ability to go for it more often, but it also ate more time off the clock and kept Kansas defense out there. I don't know that I've ever seen a box score where a team had 107 tackles and the other team had 47. That was the situation. Of course, some of those tackles are via special teams, but Trey Lathan had 13. Kamara, who we mentioned, had 9. KU did have some guys go out and play, but my big takeaway from this one, as Kansas would get some stops and some big plays in the second half, but Mizzou eventually would win. My big takeaway is really related to the fact that Kansas did not play their A game. Kansas looked like a C-plus type performance from the team that we know that they can be because they've shown it. Mizzou, it's hard to put them any lower than an A-minus, in my opinion, because they caught every ball. They converted nearly every big play. And aside from the Prabula fumble that Austin Alexander scooped up and scored for a KU touchdown, he was pretty perfect, right? And again, complementary football is a big reason why. You look at Mizzou's offense, you mentioned, Dan, both Roberts and Hardy eclipsing 100 yards on the ground. Well, you're going to see Prabula was really good through the air, 30 of 39, 334, and 3 touchdowns because they were running all over KU's defense. because KU's defense was tired, because KU couldn't establish a run game. So all of the complementary football chatter that we have is related, and Kansas just didn't play clean enough. They had drops that were crucial. Of course, you're going to remember the Henderson one. Yes, it was a situation where the sun was in his eyes, but still 3rd and 7, you got to make that catch. If you do, we're not having the conversation about punting, anything like that. We know that Highshaw had a drop earlier, also looking into the sun. We know that Doug Emelian had a drop. You look, Pribula's numbers are going to be a lot better than Jalen Daniels. Daniels, I thought, was still very solid in this one. He's not going to have as good of numbers because he didn't get a lot of help. He got really no help from his run game. 9 carries, 11 yards between Highshaw and Williams. And then I mentioned the drops. Kansas just didn't have it. They were asking Jalen Daniels to be Superman. I felt like he played really well, but he just didn't have the backing from the rest of his team as Pribula did. And shout out to Pribula. One thing that we talked about last week was our confidence level in KU up front. And again, some of this is fatigue, the fact that they were out there 6 ways to Sunday, but the dude was comfortable.
Yeah.
You didn't have, KU's front four starters, rotational pieces, wreaking that much havoc, right? You didn't have
Right.
that, and that was again another part of this. But it's frustrating to me because Mizzou played really well. Kansas was right there, and Kansas just didn't play as well as we know they could. And now you got to wait until next September to hopefully get them back.
I like what you said about complementary football, right? Because of the fact that none of it was complementary, right? The offense and the defense, like you were saying, and also establishing a run versus doing it through the air. Kansas didn't establish a run. Do you know how many net rushing yards that they had on the game? 3. They had 3 net rushing yards in the game. Mizzou knew that Kansas wasn't able to run the ball. So you know what they were doing? They were dropping 6 guys back, playing zone coverage, playing man-to-man. Didn't matter because they knew Kansas had to do it through the air. That's why that Kansas wasn't able to establish a run. So that's why their defense and their secondary was doing so well, because they knew that they were going to be passing the ball. And like you said, there was a lot of drops that really made the difference in the game. Everyone can talk about that Emmanuel Henderson drop. I think the biggest one of the game was that Highshaw drop, because it was a trick play. It was a direct snap to Highshaw, handed the ball off to Jalen. He was broken free. If he would have made that catch, that would have been 45 plus yards, maybe even a touchdown. I think if Daniel Highshaw reels that one in, talk about a momentum shifter, right? Getting into 6 with that trick play. Unfortunately, that's just not the way that it went. The Emmanuel Henderson drop, obviously, it was very tough. It was over the shoulder. Like you said, sun was in his eyes. There's just nothing you can do about that except for just, you got to go out there and you got to make plays, right? That is what it is at the end of the day. You have to make plays.
And Mizzou did.
And that's exactly what it is.
Right.
Mizzou did. Ahmad Hardy made those plays. Kevin Coleman made those plays. Norfleet made those plays. Every single player on Mizzou's football squad made those plays. When Kansas, they just came up short and they weren't able to make those plays. It's very unfortunate. And I mean, look, the defense, we were talking about the front 7 and trying to contain the run. They didn't really contain the run that well, but they did have 4 sacks, right? I thought Keenan Caldwell looked okay, right? Tommy Dunn had a half sack.
Yeah, Don had a very decent game, I would say. Of course, he had the block PAT
Yeah.
as well. And we should point out that Pribula, 9 official carries, 6 net yards on the ground. That was the key that we pointed to. So
100%.
KU did make Pribula beat them with his arm, and he did. But again, he had huge helps from Roberts and Hardy. KU 4 sacks. That's great. Again, they didn't allow Pribula to beat him on the run or outside the pocket or anything like that. But he made, there were a lot of athletic plays played by Mizzou, and that's what's led me to be, man, this team they're playing well right now. And that
yards after contact too, right? I mean, how many yards after contact did Ahmad Hardy have out of his 116? Maybe 100 of them, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Coach Leipold saying in the first quarter, we got to do better tackling. And,
exactly.
And
that was an issue that we saw in the Fresno State game. Fresno State, they went down the field a couple of times, and it really, I mean, you could tell that the tackling was just not there. So I don't know who has to deal with that, whether that's, DK McDonald, whether that be Chris Simpson, whoever that may be. But tackling is a real issue with this Kansas squad. And we saw it in the Fresno State game. And unfortunately, they didn't get it cleaned up in time for the Mizzou game.
Well, again, we're not going to get over it because it was what it was. And we'll face Mizzou next time we face Mizzou. But right now, it's okay that Kansas for every other reason, isn't playing their best football or football that we know they can. It's ridiculous, the expectations of this program compared to what they were before Coach Leipold got here. KU went down to Columbia, and you know what? They probably win that game at least 4 times out of 10. They just didn't play well on that particular day, and Mizzou made the plays. They were able to hold on to the ball. They didn't have their kicker, and I think that worked out in their favor because they were going for it. And again, they were just coming up with the clutch plays. So September 12th next year, when they come to our place, we'll see what happens on that front. But 2025 Kansas football, they're 2-1, and now there's an open week before 2 very winnable games, West Virginia and Cincinnati, both at the booth. There's a very good chance that we could be talking 3 weeks from now, and this Kansas team is 4-1 and atop the Big 12 with a 2-0 record. We don't know for sure. We understand that there are things that need to happen, but Kansas has an opportunity here to get healthy, to work on the missed tackles, to work on whatever needs to be worked on in the run game as well, and improve on that front. But 2-1, I think a lot of people would have taken that, even though we all wanted to be 3-0 in the non-conference slate. 2-1 is still a solid non-conference opportunity for Kansas, and now you move on to what matters, which is Big 12 play. You focus on the fact that your goals are still in front of you, a Big 12 championship, a college football playoff appearance. And yeah, I don't think that people should hesitate mentioning those things because those are still on the table and those are still the lofty goals that this program under Coach Leipold has. But yeah, frustrating on Saturday. I think, in the first quarter, Dan, before we wrap this up and kick it to break, the first quarter, as I was doing my remote broadcast here in Lawrence, was maybe the most fun that anybody has ever had watching a game by himself. I mean,
I'm
that's how it was.
sure.
I was going absolutely crazy, and you wanted to get. I really wanted to get that stop after 21-6, right? Didn't it feel
Oh
like, oh my
man.
God, if we just get a stop here, because the offense was humming, but Mizzou, credit them, they were able to not just score, but deflate Kansas with how long those drives were. And you felt after 21-13 that you just didn't have as much confidence in your offense
Right.
because they've been sitting for so long. And then sure enough, you have the fumble, the illegally batted ball that wasn't called. There's a bad break. Mizzou gets it right back. And 17 plays later, they score again. And then there was some fatigue in the final possession of the first half as well, 39 and 50-yard chunk plays that led to a
Yeah,
tie game field goal.
fatigue is definitely a big time factor. I think, and man, the defense really tried their best. And like you said, they 107 tackles comparatively to whatever it was, 46. I mean, that's just unbelievable. That tells you how much the defense was actually out there on the field. I thought they did an okay job of keeping up, but at the same time, that's just way too long to be out there on the field. And the offense needed to do a better job of staying on the field and scoring the football. And I don't, I'm in such a weird position because I don't want to be the guy who says, "Oh, it's okay. Let's just move on to the next one." And blah blah blah. I'm pissed. I hate the fact that Kansas lost to Missouri. It literally Saturday was one of the worst days in recent history that I've had. It was a really rough day for me. Okay. But so I don't want to be the guy who's like, "Oh, it's okay. We'll just move on, whatever." But here's the thing. It's true. This bye week is coming at the perfect time, right? You're coming off a really bad loss to Mizzou where a lot of problems happened. Guess what? You have 2 weeks to resolve those before conference play. This doesn't go towards your conference record. You have 2 very winnable games at home with West Virginia and Cincinnati that are coming up in the new booth after a bye week. Everything that Kansas wants is right in front of them. Yes, does it suck? Absolutely, it sucks. I'm probably not going to get over this for hell. I'll say it, a few years, right?
You'll
or
be fine if we
at
beat
least
them next year. You'll be fine.
at least until next year, right? Give me 365 days, just a calendar year. I'll be over it if Kansas beats them next year at home, right? I'm not going to get over this, but at the same time, I am being a realist, and I am saying that yeah, whatever Kansas wants, they still got to go out there, and it's still feasibly possible to win the Big 12 right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's the game that you circle, and we didn't play it for 14 years, and obviously that's as frustrating as it gets, but we do know they're coming to our place next year, so that's a great opportunity, and there's nothing you can do about it now in 2025. This is still a really good Kansas football team in 2025, and they're going to play their A game a lot down the line. We're going to be talking about a lot of Big 12 wins down the line as well as this team has a lot of good players and a lot of really great opportunities. Well, hey, I know that people kind of are, I don't know, one-sided on this. It depends who you are, but 2010, Kansas lost to North Dakota State 6-3. The next year, they lost to Texas A&M 61-7. I mean, that's just a few examples of where this program was. Does it make it okay now that expectations are back? No, you can say no, whatever, but it's a lot better having a team out there every Saturday that you can go to battle with and certainly have a very good chance. Wasn't in the cards for KU. They just didn't play a clean enough game on Saturday. The West Virginia game time did come out this morning. Of course, no game this Saturday, but Saturday the 20th, KU West Virginia at the booth is going to be on at 5 o'clock, FS1, and of course on the Jayhawk Sports Network from Learfield.
I have a question for you before we wrap this up, because it has been in my brain for a long time. And yes, I know I've seen the analytics, and yes, I talked about it. The punt after the Emmanuel Henderson drop, I guess, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think it was the right move, or do you think that Kansas should have gone for it and tried to regain the momentum? I guess because right now I'm torn. Again, I've seen the analytics, but I know that if Kansas gets that fourth down, they're going down there and they're scoring.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really tough call. When you punt with 2.5 to go, you've got all 3 timeouts plus the 2-minute timeout. You at least give yourself a chance to get a stop, and then you can go win the game, right? Well, if you opt to go for it, then best case scenario, you're going to be down by 7. Worst case scenario, you're down by 11. Yeah, I understand that Kansas ended up being down by 11 after all, but you at least gave yourself a chance with the punt. I don't know. Like you said, it's kind of 50-50. And in that scenario, it's easy to look back on and say, well, it didn't work out. They got the touchdown anyway. But yeah, very, very tough call and frustrating, like you said, that KU was unable to get even one first down on that front. Because I think if you inch closer to midfield, then you have a better chance to go for it. But yeah, unfortunately, like I've been saying, KU just didn't play clean enough football. At Mizzou, it seemed like made every play.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, and that's just what it comes down to. But again, I feel like if you get that fourth down, you have the momentum, and you're probably able to make those plays because your guys have more confidence. And to me, I'm not going to use the word cowardly, because I don't think it was cowardly. I think that it was obviously a coin flip decision, and again, you could have gotten the ball back. You have trust in your defense to be able to do that. So it's really tough, and there's a lot of different things. You don't just look at the punt, right? There's a lot of different things that could have gone differently, right? There's the batted ball could have gone differently. The Daniel Highshaw catch, the Emmanuel Henderson catch. I mean, the defense staying on there for as long as they did. I mean, there was a lot of missed tackles. There's a lot of things you can look at. So it's not one thing in particular that lost this game, but just, it is a question of time management, I guess. So again, I'm not on the coaching staff, so I what do I know comparatively to what these guys know is just, sort of, yeah, I mean, it's just tough. And again, you hate to lose to these guys. They're bad people. They're genuinely bad people, right? And I've gotten Mizzou fans in our DMs on TikTok and all this different kind of stuff, talking trash. So again, I'm gonna get over it. It'll be fine. Give us a year. We'll play them in the booth, and we'll beat their butts.
Here in a little bit, Kevin Flaherty, Kansas City Sports Network, will join us. But after this, we're going to hear from head coach Lance Leipold. You're watching Rock Chalk Sports on KansasNation.com and listening to ESPN Kansas City. Welcome back to Rock Chalk Sports here on KansasNation.com. Thanks for listening as well on ESPN Kansas City. Big shout out to Miles Schneier and everybody over at Crown Automotive. Appreciate that partnership and helping make all this happen. KansasNation.com. Check it out. We've got articles on there. We've got clips, highlights, full shows, of course, on Rock Chalk Sports. Plus, we've got a ton of other shows that we're going to be debuting very shortly, a little bit later this month. You're going to, of course, have Haney and the Hawks. You're going to have a show featuring Brandon McAnderson and Chris Harris Jr. You're going to even see some Greg Gurley if you're lucky enough. So more information on that to come in the coming weeks. But really excited about this partnership with Union Broadcasting, WHB 810 here at KansasNation.com. We're live at our new state-of-the-art studios on Mass Street, and couldn't be happier to be here. KU fell to Mizzou over the weekend in Columbia. We're hoping to never have to say that again, but it was a hard-fought game. Hawks fall to 2-1. Lance Leipold didn't exactly get the red carpet rolled out for him for his post-game interview, but let's hear everything that KU's head coach said after the loss.
Lance, with the way the time of possession when your defense was out there for a long time, how did you feel they kind of dealt with that and played overall?
Yeah, generally, Henry, we're on the field way too long defensively today for multiple reasons. One, we didn't sustain drives enough offensively, and we didn't get off the field defensively at times. And I thought we played hard. I thought we played hard today. I can't fault our effort, our execution, and in some wise. Assignment gap wise, they exposed us in some ways, and again, we didn't tackle as clean, especially in the first half. I thought that we needed to win a game like this today, but again, I don't fault the effort of our guys and what the potential of this team is moving down the road.
What do you think is maybe the biggest thing you've learned about your team today?
We have work to do. That's the biggest thing is that, we're, again, when you play against good teams like this and they have a fine football team with a lot of weapons, just like we talked about all week, and you saw them all get utilized today, whether it be the tight end, the backs, the receiver, everybody, the quarterback makes plays with his legs. So everything we thought they were, you could see, again, an excellent front seven that was physical. We struggled to get a running game going today, and that was all the things that I think you remember we talked about on Monday in the press conference, and it played out. Obviously, it was a concern, and at the same time, we were able to get the lead and do some things and have that. And again, I told our guys I'm proud of our effort. But they have to understand that we have to show up on Monday and get ready to get back to work because we have some work to do to get ready for Big 12 play.
Plenty of plays and moments to look at, but I wonder on the punt late in the game there, did you think about going for it, or was that a no-brainer punt?
At that time, I know that one would be asked. We kind of thought was if we would have gotten one first down, then we probably would have been more in the area to go for it. But it was like in the high, was it 3 minutes or just under 2? Was that if it was going to be a 3 and out, that we would. Between that, the 2-minute timeout and our 3 was that if we can get a stop, which again, you're saying probably going to say, well, shoot, they've run 80-some plays, you haven't stopped them yet, but which is probably fair criticism. But at the same time, at that time, with that much time in the game, we thought if we could get a stop with that we'd have a chance then to go win the football game.
Kind of a similar vein, when you take over with 1 minute left and 3 timeouts before the half, how'd you kind of determine how aggressive or not?
We just felt momentum-wise, it was still at a point where it was that we were going to try to run it. Now, we didn't do a good enough job coaching Daniel Highshaw about making sure we stay in bounds. I thought he was in bounds. It sure looked like he was. But that we were going to run the ball, run the clock out. So that was one, again, a fair question about what we're thinking, but a little bit about momentum. We hadn't really been doing much, and again, to give them that opportunity by burning timeouts and giving them the ball back with much time left was not where we wanted to be at that time.
Lance, did the rivalry side of this game kind of live up to what you learned leading up to it?
Yeah, I'll say that, Coach Drinkwitz and I talked about the things that we talked about was, there's a lot around it, but at the same time, it's about the two teams playing, and that we both, agreed that we wanted a good, clean football game that was going to be highly competitive, and we keep our young men healthy. And I think we got it. I thought it was intense. It was intense. Obviously, there's a lot of enthusiasm and emotions on both sides, but yeah, I thought it was. It was a great atmosphere here, and again, we're just disappointed where it ended up on our side.
Lance, there's a little bit of disparity on the rushing side from both sides. How difficult was it for Jalen and kind of the run game to get going?
Yeah, like I said, we struggled up front, matching up there, and some of that. Then we found a little bit more rhythm throwing the ball. So then I don't want to say we totally abandoned it, but there were some things that, with the drive that we did score on, that I think it was almost all passes, if I'm right. So. Again, there are things that we can do. Obviously, like I said, the things we got to work on. We got to be able to go against fronts like that and be able to run, and be successful.
3 and out to start the game, and then they march and score, and then next thing
Yeah.
you know, you're up 21-6. What was the response, and what did that do to your sideline
Yeah.
and just the confidence of your guys?
Yeah, you get that where you don't get off to the start you want, and they do, but I really thought in a unique way, which happens sometimes, a blocked extra point can help, can kind of boost your confidence and kind of get you going a little bit, and I think that kind of sparked us after a disappointing opening drive for them. And then again, then Austin picks up the fumble. We get that plus Deshaun's touchdown in there. I didn't sense panic from our guys. I didn't sense panic even when they took the lead there when we had another shot. All those things are I think impressive of our group and leadership. I think our guys have confidence yet, but again, I don't think they know that we have to get better in some areas in order to be the team we'd like to be.
We saw Bengali out there.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through kind of his weekend, the grit he showed?
Well, like I told you on Monday, he was listed as out. He met with the doctors later that day, and they talked about some things that could happen, and he was out he did not do anything on Tuesday. He practiced some on Wednesday, and we told him was that, hey, if he wanted to play from the start, and I really admired that about him. A lot of times in today's era, guys, I'll sit out this non-conference game. We're open next week. I get a couple weeks rest, and then I'll be more closer to 100%. And he was like, Coach, I'm playing. And he did some on Wednesday. We told him that he needed to do something to show that he could go out there. He practiced some on Wednesday, did a little bit more on Thursday, and we made the decision that obviously John would still start, but then we would see how he felt after warm-ups, and so that's the story.
Coach, despite the loss, you guys are able to roll with the punches and show some resiliency. How important is a quality like that going into the
It's going to be because, much like our conference, the closeness of games are going to be there week in and week out. And for us to, disappointed that we gave up the long one to end the game and things like that. But for us to keep battling and seeing that and seeing this group, even though disappointed, there wasn't frustration at one another or what was happening around them other than just frustration with the outcome of what transpired. So that gives me great hope about this group. I really like this team. I've told them that for a long time, and I'm confident just looking in their eyes afterwards that they're going to come to work on Monday ready to get after it and get coached and find a way to take another step.
You alluded to it a couple of times already, but pound for pound, physically, how do you feel like you stacked up against that team that's obviously out there trying to...
I think you know the answer. It's why you asked the question. So we'll just kind of, I could get into a lot of different factors in that, but I think you know where it's at. We've got a little work to do there, and there's multiple reasons, and we'll address those as we go along.
One more. How do you approach a bye week when it comes this early in the season and you've had kind of a small sample of games?
Our bye week right now is still going to be like a lot of our other ones where we'll just watch the film and do some lift. They'll do a lift Monday. We'll practice Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then they'll lift and run on Friday and off on Saturday. We'll practice the next Sunday as we continue to prepare for West Virginia. Coaches will be out recruiting some. There's no off weeks in this thing, so we know that, and again, we'll have to keep working at it. And again, as I told them, there's not punishment practices. That's a thing of the past, and whatever. You got to get back to what you got to work on. We got to find ways to correct what we're doing, whether it be fundamentally or assignment or whatever the case may be across the board. And tomorrow morning when we meet with the staff, we'll talk about what those particulars are, and we'll keep working at it. And like you said, this early in the season, we have a lot of football to play, and I'm confident this group will continue to work hard and be a good football team.
That's head coach Lance Leipold after the loss in Columbia. KU falls to 2-1 with the 11-point defeat. Obviously, as we kind of talked about, not the greatest setup in terms of a post-game press conference availability. Not shocked. I heard there was a little bit of a opportunity for a fan to win some money on a made field goal that fan chose to not not take that opportunity. And we'll talk about that maybe a different time. But Dan, as we alluded to, the batted ball conversation as well. I mean, again, anybody with eyeballs can see that it was clearly batted back to the end zone by a Tiger defender. And again, who knows what would have come of that Kansas drive? And we don't want to, rest anything on sour grapes here, but Kansas was up by 8. The defense was exhausted at that point, as Mizzou had just had a 15-play drive. This was KU's first play. Even if you get a couple more plays offensively, even if it is 2nd and 20 and you don't convert, then you have a couple more plays at your own 20-yard line. The defense can rest a little bit, and the bottom line is it wasn't the right call, and that cost KU as Mizzou would get the safety, and then they would get the ball back and go on a 17-play drive.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, that just wasted a lot more time for Mizzou as well. Gave them 2 free points, which they shouldn't have gotten, right? Again, I mean, looking at that, and we know some Mizzou fans saying, "Oh, yeah, I thought I saw a different angle of it." No. He made a fist and he punched the ball and went 15 yards into the end zone. Shout out to, was it Kobe Baines who jumped on it? I believe is who it was. Shout out to Kobe Baines, because that could have been an easy 7 points that Mizzou also didn't deserve. Kansas should have gotten the ball back. I mean, this game frustrates the hell out of me, right? Because obviously you don't want to lose to Mizzou, and with the referees being that bad, the referees were horrible the entire game, right? A lot of the calls were questionable, right, on both sides, even, right? I mean, the face mask, I mean, maybe he got a little piece of the face mask. I thought it was a little, maybe not enough to make the call. Talking about the face mask on Jalen Daniels, they did wind up calling that, but still, the referees were horrible in this game. But you cannot blame the referees. This comes down to clock management. This comes down to not tackling. This comes down to your wide receivers and your running backs not being able to make plays when they absolutely matter, right? That's the name of the game, making plays. Mizzou did it. They had no problem making plays. Kansas had problems making plays. It's very unfortunate, right? And again, I keep on going back to the high shot drop. The perfectly executed trick play that he would have walked into the end zone and he dropped the ball. Emmanuel Henderson on 3rd and long to get Kansas past midfield, I believe, dropped the ball. Kansas had to punt after that, which again, I think, in my personal my personal opinion, I believe that was the wrong call there. You absolutely have to go for it when the game is on the line in that situation, when you know that they have been running the hell out of the clock, and when you know your defense has had trouble the entire time getting off the field, you still punt. It's a little frustrating. And I'm not going to get this worked up about other games like this. This is Mizzou. This is freaking Mizzou. This is the border war. And there's a little part of me, and yeah, I understand that a lot of the kids, they don't understand the magnitude of this rivalry, right? They all thought K-State was the biggest rival. They thought, oh, Mizzou, they're whatever. They're in another conference. Well, who cares about that, right? They did a good job of trying to educate these kids. Hopefully now it is ingrained into their brains how much we hate these guys, because this game means a lot to the entire fan base. I hope they see how disappointed the entire fan base is because we lost this game. I hope they see that, and I hope they come out next year with a fire underneath them that we didn't see against them. Because I didn't see that fire that you usually saw, that you saw back in 2007 and 2008 when they played at Arrowhead. You didn't see that fire in them. You saw some chippiness, you saw some fun, you saw some, first down celebrations, this and that. You didn't see the fire. Hopefully that fire comes back next year, because they're still pissed off about this loss.
We're going to be done talking about this game, aside from when we rehash it with our guests as the week rolls on. But we're going to talk a little KU basketball next segment, as boot camp started today. So before our Case of the Monday segment, we want to kind of take a look back into KU hoops, because that's going to be here before we know it. What 6 weeks away from late night in the fall. Again, excited for what should be a fantastic year of KU basketball. So a little hoops chatter after this. Thanks for watching on KansasNation.com and listening to ESPN Kansas City.
I'm Justice Finkley. You're watching KansasNation.com. Rock Chalk.
Welcome back to Rock Chalk Sports on KansasNation.com. Sean Kellerman alongside Dan Courtwright. We're going to have our Case of the Monday segment next segment, but now we're talking a little KU basketball. Did want to get out some KU baseball news that came out earlier today. 2 fall exhibition games. Love fall ball. That was announced a little bit earlier today. Saturday, October 11th, KU against Bradley in an extended inning exhibition, an opportunity to see some of the guys and not really care what the score is. Honestly, you're going to have multiple innings, see some pitchers, see some hitters, and get out there for some fall action. And then it's actually going to be the Dillon Sunflower Showdown a couple weeks after that. KU K-State in the second fall exhibition, Saturday, October 25th. Start time for both of those is going to come out in the coming weeks. But, of course, Dan, a lot of firepower returning to this Kansas baseball team. We had a lot of fun spring, early summer talking about the 2025 Hawks. But 2026, you're going to return Brady Ballinger, a guy whose batting average at times during the year hovered around 400. And Dario Osorio will be back, as well as Big 12 Freshman of the Year, Dom Vagley. So should be a very exciting season. And again, Coach Fitz continues to bring in talent.
By the way, KU's playing K-State in Lawrence October 25th in baseball. Also on October 25th, they're playing in football. I guess I did the same day, which is absolutely insane to me.
Yeah.
So,
and there's probably a reason that the time hasn't come out yet for that game too.
That also makes sense. You think they'll carpool?
Yeah, I think so.
They might, right?
That makes sense. That'd be great.
Save on gas. No, I mean, KU baseball, obviously, watching that team all of last year was so much fun, right? With Ballinger, with Jackson Hauge, Dario Osorio was so much fun. Derek Serta, incredible. Just hit after hit after hit. I mean, they had 5 home runs in a row in a single game. First time that's happened since I don't even know how long ago that was. So obviously a lot of fun to watch. And Coach Fitz, he's going to have a lot of turnover once again. Not as many guys as we thought were going to be drafted in the MLB. I believe only 3 guys drafted in the MLB draft last year. A few more guys. They got some signings. Obviously, we saw Breck. He got to be able to sign with the St. Louis Cardinals. So that was really cool. Some other guys were able to sign elsewhere. So there's going to be a lot of turnover, and we've seen what Coach Fitz is able to do with turnover with his squads, and he's so good at seeing talent at the JUCO level that you're bringing in JUCO guys who are going to be immediate impact guys. You're bringing in guys who might be flying under the radar, who are going to come to Kansas and be very impactful. I mean, look at a guy like Jackson Hauge, who came from Division II up in Minnesota, had a terrible, head injury, thought he was done forever, and then all of a sudden he's our home run leader the next year. So he knows how to squeeze the maximum amount of talent out of these guys as possible. And I think that recruits are also seeing this as well. And they're saying, man, I'm under recruited, but I know I'm a damn good baseball player. I'm going to come play for Coach Fitz because I know he can pull out the best in me.
A lot of talk about the culture at KU under Coach Fitz as well. The Big 12 Coach of the Year, Dan Fitzgerald, who led KU to a 43-17 record, of course, NCAA tournament appearance. KU had 20 Big 12 wins, 20 conference wins. They weren't officially the Big 12 champions because West Virginia didn't play as many games as KU and had a slightly higher winning percentage. But 42 regular season wins as well for KU, 7 series wins, 5 conference series sweeps, 26 come from behind wins, and also just blew the previous home run record out of the water. 104 for 2025 Kansas baseball. The previous record was 75. That was a lot of fun. So a couple fall games, October 11th and October 25th for KU baseball. That came out today. Today also, Dan, marked the beginning of boot camp, a tradition unlike any other for Bill Self, which is one of those, we talk about this all the time. Well, the unofficial start of basketball season. Well, this would be the unofficial start of basketball season, right? Those guys are up early and enduring some tough workouts, and we'll have more thoughts on that, of course, but exciting as so many newcomers now get an opportunity to experience the Bill Self way in honor of boot camp.
I'm excited to see because, as of right now, like who are the guys who really know about boot camp, right? It's El Marco, it's Jamari, and it's Flory Bidunga who've been through. Flory's only been through 1. Jamari and El Marco have been through 2 at least. So those are the guys who probably were telling all the newcomers, hey, gear up because this is going to be really, really tough. It's always fun to see, the pictures of those guys just drenched in sweat. And obviously they've been working out over the offseason, but I think Bill Self does this differently because it's good to get this out of the way sooner rather than later. You don't want the guys to have absolutely dead legs closer
What's
to
yeah, closer to the season. What's
Yeah.
your favorite snack to have on the couch as you're looking at the pictures of these guys drenched in sweat?
barbecue potato
I was gonna
chips.
say potato chips and dip or something like that. Okay.
Well, I go barbecue potato chips, just plain, or I just go, like wavy
Yeah.
red plain potato chips with little sour
See,
cream. and
I
onion.
always
I-
pictured you scrolling through Instagram, seeing these pictures of guys working hard with
Yeah,
with a
saying,
plate of mozzarella sticks in
Oh,
front of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I could do that. Well,
Couple soft pretzels in
covered
front of you.
Crumbs. Yeah.
But
No, it's
yeah.
that's definitely what I do.
But
100%.
but going back to what you said, Coach has said this quote set a tone that the guys thought whatever was in front of them moving forward wasn't going to be near as difficult because they had already been through the hardest thing. End quote. Yeah, I am okay never experiencing this. I think
Same.
a lot of people would echo that, but everything I've heard over the years and the 20 plus years that Coach Self has been here is it's a good bringing together of the guys. And this is going to be a unique season for Kansas basketball because after back-to-back seasons where KU is the preseason #1 team in the country, you're probably going to see them, at least at this point, from everything I've seen, outside the top 15. And I think pretty much everybody in Jayhawk Nation is okay with that.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I think that they are. But I mean, with a guy like Darren Peterson at the helm, I mean, it's going to be obviously very tough because he's going to be the guy, and that's the most that Bill Self has ever asked from a freshman before, right? We've talked about this, about how he didn't have Andrew Wiggins come in and be the guy immediately. He had a good supporting cast. Josh Jackson, same thing. Talk about all of the other freshmen, 5-star guys that he's had come in. He hasn't asked as much as he's asking of Darren Peterson right now. So really excited for this KU football or KU football. I'm on KU football on the brain. KU basketball squad, obviously. Has your starting five changed at all, by the way?
I think it has, actually.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it has changed.
Who do you?
I know this is your favorite game to play.
It's my favorite game to play. It's called Guess
is-
That Starting Five.
This is your favorite. By the way, as a side note regarding Darren Peterson, I'm seeing some things out there that are basically alluding to the fact that as good as we thought he was going to be, he looks even better than that. So
I did see
excited
Jamari
for that.
McDowell beat him in a race, though, which concerned me. Jamari's fast. Jamari's fast. I will give him that.
Yeah.
But it was they were doing like a capture the flag thing, and Jamari McDowell took that from Darren Peterson. So
well, it sounds like
point guard
the
controversy?
talent depth is going to be a lot different than what it's been the past couple seasons for KU basketball. And I think there are some dark horses that are probably going to be seen this year that people maybe didn't think was going to be the case. I mean, Cole Rosario certainly seems to fit that mold. I think there's a chance he could be a starter by season's end. I mean, that's how highly he's spoken of from everything that I've seen. And certainly Bryson Tiller, a guy who had a semester here at KU. He has NBA pro potential. That's a guy playing at the next level at some point. Will he throw his name in the ring for starting at some point? And then Samis Calderon, probably a guy a little bit lower on the depth chart. He is a guy who will be playing professionally also someday. So, yeah, I think in terms of the starting five, since you so eloquently asked, Dan, I think you obviously go DP at the 1 and Flory at the 5. I think the 4 is pretty solid at this point, Trey White. And then I think it'll end up being Melvin Council at the 2 and Jaden Dawson at the 3. But like I said, Cole Rosario is going to be in that conversation. He may be the first guard off the bench. I think Elmarco Jackson's going to have something to say for that potentially. But those guys I'm high of. Obviously, Paul and Bia likely to be your first big off the bench.
See, I think Elmarco is going to be a starter. I think that from the progress that he made from year 1 to year 2, and then obviously dealing with that knee injury really sucked for him because he was on just such an upward trajectory. I think Elmarco is going to be a starter. I think he's going to be vying for it because he understands, hey, this is year 3 for me. If I'm not starting by now, like something's wrong. So I need to really kick it into gear. I mean, he was a 5-star guy for a reason, and he started playing basketball late too. He didn't grow up with a basketball in his hand. He started playing, I believe, in like high school, maybe even 8th grade, something along those lines, and just continued to progress and continued to become a better basketball player. So I like Elmarco. I think Cole Rosario is really going to be vying for some playing time too, and I'm high on Samis Calderon. I feel like everybody else is not super high on Samis Calderon. I like him, man. I think he can jump out of the gym. He's freaky athletic. He's got a silky smooth jumper. I think we see, 8 to 10 to 12 minutes of Sami's Call Run every game.
Hey, a big shout out to Easton John and Gabe Boucher helping run the production today. As you can probably see, things are looking a little bit different in a good way as we continue to try to improve Kansas Nation as much as possible. KansasNation.com. Again, encourage you to check it out when you get a chance. And of course, we've got Rock Chalk Sports Daily, one of many shows that we're going to have. We're going to be the daily show. We're going to have a lot of weekly shows as well. And excited for you guys to follow along with us. Big part of Jayhawk Nation, Kansas Nation, and KansasNation.com. After this, we have our Case of the Mondays segment. We're going to take you around the world of sports as we do at the beginning of every week. Thanks for listening to ESPN Kansas City and watching on KansasNation.com.
I'm DJ Withers, and you're watching KansasNation.com.
Welcome back to KansasNation.com, and thanks for listening on ESPN Kansas City as well. Big shout out as well to Miles Schneer, Crown Automotive, all the great people over there helping make this possible. And we're going to get into our Case of the Monday segment a little bit later in the show. We're talking Chiefs football. That was not fun on Friday as they fell in Brazil 27-21 to a Chargers team that outplayed them. And then we saw a game last night that had me concerned, I don't know where the Chiefs are right now in the AFC and NFL as a whole, but obviously a lot of games to play on that front. Then we'll talk little Royals and take you around the college football week 2 slate as well, and any NFL things that we don't get to here in the upcoming segment. And Dan, I know for a fact that it was tough for you getting out of bed after your weekend-long bender.
Didn't have a bender. I didn't drink this weekend, I don't think.
How about that?
I know. Look at me. I'm watching my summer figure for next summer. Yeah, no, I didn't. See, Saturday I was just so bummed after the Mizzou game. I actually, I know this for a fact. I didn't watch any other football after that. I didn't watch the Oklahoma-Michigan game. You know what? I just
Gilmore Girls.
No, actually, I didn't throw on Gilmore Girls. I threw on, let's see, what was it? It's How I Met Your Mother. We watched How I Met Your Mother.
That's cute.
Just a very comforting show. I just needed to forget about everything, because I mean, at that point I was like, how can a loving God be so cruel? I was getting really philosophical, just with like how, like, why do bad things happen to good people? Why do good things happen to bad people, right? Like with Mizzou. So it's unfortunate. So I turned it off, and I'm pretty sure I called it a night at like 9 o'clock on Saturday. Sunday, I woke up and I watched NFL. Kind of forgot a little bit of it after that. But
so you did watch professional football on Sunday, which is good because that's our segue. There were a lot of low-scoring, kind of gross affairs. One good game in the early slate, but the highlight of the game, no doubt, was. Or the highlight of the day, rather, Sunday Night Football.
Yes.
Ravens, Bills. Were you able to catch the majority of that?
I watched the entire game, and what an electric game that was. Who, by the way, those games are always really weird because obviously, the Bills and the Ravens, those are the two teams that have been vying for that AFC championship throughout the entire Chiefs dynasty, if you will. And, it feels as though the Bills beat the Chiefs every year in the regular season, and the Chiefs beat the Bills every year in the playoffs. Same with the Ravens, right? The Chiefs always beat the Ravens in the playoffs. Lamar Jackson can't win the big one. So I didn't really find myself rooting for anybody, but at the end of the game, I did, strangely enough, find myself rooting for the Bills for two reasons. Number one, I love to see good comebacks, and talk about a comeback. 16 points in the final 4 minutes of the game. Unbelievable by the Bills. Also, because of the fact that I thought the Ravens looked like the better team. So I wanted the Ravens to lose, just to kind of put a dampener on them, because the Ravens to me look like Super Bowl champions at this point. Now, again, it's week 1, but at this point, the Ravens to me looked like the better team.
Matt Prater is just one of the great kickers of all time.
Yeah, how is he?
That was stressing me out.
You were roommates in college with him, right?
I cannot imagine Matt Prater doing what he did. First of all, I can't imagine being a Bills fan. And they didn't have a clock stoppage. So it was the special teams, the field goal unit running out. And it was stressing me out. And I didn't even care who won. And my heart was racing because there was 7 seconds to go. And I'm like, oh, my God, you got to kick the ball. So I'm sure everybody in Western New York was thinking that. But Prater nailed it. It looked like it almost got deflected.
By the way, he took the red eye like that.
Yeah. That's nuts.
Day before out to Western New York, because he wasn't on the spot. It was crazy.
They were only in that spot because on 4th down, when it was 40-25, Keon Coleman somehow
KU legend.
was able to make a reception on a ball that I don't know if it was intended for him or not to get the touchdown, and eventually the Bills won. But this is a Case of the Monday segment, and it was a Case of the Mondays for Derrick Henry, who was having another vintage all-world Derrick Henry performance until he fumbled the football and essentially the game away.
Yeah, and that's not. I mean, look, he had what did he have? 18 carries, 169 yards, 2 touchdowns, averaged 9.5 yards per carry. I mean, it's unbelievable what he did. But yeah, he did have the fumble, which obviously sucks for him. Didn't suck for me. He's on my fantasy team. I know everyone cares about my fantasy team, and we'll get into a fantasy football. We'll get into his fantasy football segment later, where I just talk about my fantasy football team only because that's the only one anyone cares about. But yeah, it sucks that that's going to be the highlight essentially of it, right? Because Derrick Henry did have an incredible game, and that is, I mean, if you want me to be honest, you can point to that and say that's the reason that the Ravens lost that game.
Yeah, I mean, granted, they had an opportunity. They got the ball back when the Bills missed the 2-point conversion that would have tied it. That's what's crazy about it, is the Bills had to have 3 possessions to end up winning, but they got it done. And you probably saw the fan that had pushed DeAndre Hopkins, and then Lamar had pushed him, and that fan apparently now going to be banned from NFL stadiums. You can't make contact with the players.
Don't do that. What are you doing?
That's ridiculous. Lamar said what he was supposed to say after retaliating. He went to the podium after and said, he's got to be a bigger man there, and he's, which absolutely get that, but don't be touching the players, right?
No, don't touch the player. By the way, do you think that if Keon Coleman, obviously there was a ball to Keon Coleman where they got them well into field goal range. They already were kind of in field goal range, but well in field goal range, got tripped up, and he got down to like the 5-yard line. Do you think the Ravens take the ball back and go down and try to potentially get a field goal there? Because Keon Coleman looked like he was trying to score.
Yeah,
right?
He
didn't do the Jet McKinnon where he stops at the 1-yard line to essentially seal the game for good with a field goal.
Yeah,
he was trying to score, so that was going to give the Ravens probably about 38-ish seconds.
Yeah.
I think. I mean,
I probably, a lot of times I'm in favor with the strategy of going down, but in that situation, since it would have put them up by 4,
that's
5
true.
after the PAT, I would have tried to score there. I would have, because that way they got to go the entire length. You can, play prevent defense. You don't have to worry about them getting to the 25, 30-yard line for a Tyler Loop attempt. But it worked out great. He did get tripped up, and then, Prater wanted the ball on the far hash, and there you go.
By the way,
also,
Matt Prater's hair.
Case of the Mondays. Is that so?
Did you see that?
It's the offseason, man. He didn't know he was playing.
He's 41 years old. That man should not have a mullet.
Tyreek Hill and the Dolphins get crushed by Indianapolis. Daniel Jones, I heard your boy, Scotty Hansen, say that on Red Zone yesterday, which, by the way, people overreacted to the whole commercials on Red Zone. I watched Red Zone during my daughter's nap time yesterday, and that there was nothing really that deterred me away from it. So if there were more commercials, then I didn't notice it. Scott Hansen doing his thing. He is the magician. He's the absolute magician. And I will say that Daniel Jones, according to Scotty and his crew, the first quarterback since 1996 to lead 7 offensive drives and all 7 end in points. Yes, some great quarterbacks of all time have done something similar, but a lot of times you have a possession at the end of the half or the end of the game where you take a knee. Well, Jones didn't have that. So if that stat is correct, and again, you know who to go to if it's not, then how about Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes, and the Colts just completely undressing the Dolphins?
And here's the thing. I still thought that I was the most athletic Daniel in the world. Turns out, no, that's not true. Because
Danny Manning got you, huh?
Well, Daniel Highshaw too, I guess. He's much more athletic than I am. Danny Dimes. I take back everything I ever said bad about Daniel Jones. Now, again, it's only week 1, small sample size. Do you remember who the best team in the NFL was last year, the first 2 weeks?
Giants.
The New Orleans Saints.
Oh, that's right.
The New Orleans Saints.
And the MVP candidate, Derek Carr.
Derek Carr looked fantastic with the New Orleans Saints first 2 weeks. Guess what? That magic ran out. So I anticipate that happening. Also, did you know that Jason Bean is no longer on the Colts?
Is that right?
Yeah, I guess they cut him. He's not even on the practice squad anymore. So I don't know what Jason Bean's up to. Not a great move by Chris Ballard.
Speaking of Jason Bean, speaking of the New Orleans Saints, Devin Neal, a couple carries yesterday for the
2
Saints.
carries, 9 yards. Shout out to him. I also
enjoy
have him
seeing
on
that.
my fantasy team, on my bench, though.
Anyway, the case of the Mondays is for Tyreek Hill,
Yes.
who had some quotes after the game that we're not going to show yet today, but needless to say, he essentially said that the Dolphins had their manhood tested in getting crushed by an Indianapolis team that we expect to be far below average this season. So, case of the Mondays for Tyreek and
Also,
Mike McDaniel. That Mike McDaniel thing's not working out, man.
It's not. He's a fun guy in interviews, but he's a bad football coach. I will say this. So, Tyreek Hill, I believe that he probably had a personal vendetta against the Colts for this game, and you could tell. I thought that he really wanted to go out there and show it, because if you remember, you know how all the NFL teams make a big spectacle about releasing their schedules, right? Well, the Colts made a fun one. It was like Minecraft themed, and they went through all the games. And for the first game against the Dolphins, they had a dolphin in the water wearing a Tyreek Hill jersey, and they had the Coast Guard coming and arresting the dolphin.
I forgot about that Colts
making
schedule
fun.
release. That was great.
Isn't that
in general, the whole schedule release
the whole
was great.
thing fantastic. Everyone knocked it out of the park. Then the Colts, they had to wind up deleting it because they offended Tyreek Hill because he'd been arrested before, and it was a whole big thing, and Tyreek Hill's like, whatever. So you had to imagine Tyreek did not love that, and he wanted to go out there and prove it. And no, only 40 yards. So
we both had this on there. We wanted to bring
Tough
this up because I know that you saw the video as well. A game that took place not in Miami. Well, this game was in Miami. The Dolphins were not in Miami, but the Phillies were taking on the Marlins.
That's right.
And again, we saw this floating around Twitter. A dad of a 11-year-old who was celebrating his birthday.
Yeah.
11's kind of a guess on that front. Had
also birthday kind of a guess. You don't know them.
Had what did I say? No, he was celebrating his birthday. He was celebrating his birthday.
Oh, okay, I didn't know this.
The dad had caught a home run ball for this kid, and I guess he was, I don't know, 7-8 seats away from his actual seat when he retrieved this ball. And then he walked over and gave it to his son, a little happy birthday. Everybody wants to get a ball at a game, right? Right. I've been seeing carrying
that ball right there I got on my birthday. It's a Lorenzo Cain foul ball.
Look at that. That's pretty special. So, okay, really cool opportunity for this kid. Well, then this Karen comes by and starts berating the dad and basically bullies the dad into taking the ball that he had just given his son out of his son's glove and giving it back to this Karen just to get her away from them. And as I understand it, this woman was booed out of the stadium. And then, happy ending alert, the ball was hit by Harrison Bader, right?
Yes.
Of the Phillies.
That's
so
correct.
This kid and the dad got to have a meet and greet after the fact with Harrison Bader. Bader, check please. Former Cardinal, and God, he's played for a ton of teams. I don't know. He's a good player. He's a good player, but got to do a meet and greet. And then I saw somebody else on Twitter is offering to take this kid to the World Series. So ends up being. But what is this woman doing? I mean, it's a kid, and I think her whole thing was the fact that this guy moved away from his seat to get the ball. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, she said you took the ball from where I was. You took that ball from me. Give me the ball back. And the dad was legitimately like terrified. He's like, "Oh, what do you?"
He's just like, "How do I get this?"
By the way, if you're out there and you ever have this happen to you, where a ball or some kind of souvenir comes your way, and there's a child anywhere around you, you give it to them. You give the kid the ball. If you were over the age of 18 and you get a foul ball and there is anyone younger than you within 7-8 rows, you give it to the kid. You absolutely have to give it to the kid.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe
that's how it works.
Again, happy ending. This is how it should work. Like, remember when you were this kid's age, like meeting a professional ball player is like so awesome. And he got a signed bat, I think, from Bader. And again, hopefully he gets to go to the World Series. But that's cool. I don't understand what was going through that woman's mind. I mean, come on. You can clearly see it's a kid who's got it.
She went home with the ball, though.
She doesn't own
so
that
at least
seat.
She got a souvenir.
Yeah, whatever, I guess. I put Arizona Diamondbacks on this. Just wanted to real quick point out that they struck out 4 times in 1 inning. Aroldis Chapman, who has been ridiculously good and throws ridiculously hard for a really long time, struck out 4 Diamondbacks in the same inning. Of course, you had the drop ball, and then, he just completely dominated. What's crazy, his ERA is 0.98. He's almost 40 years old, and he was the one, as you probably remember, in Game 7 of the 2016 World Series, as a member of the Cubs, gave up the home run to Rajai Davis, of all people, of the Cleveland Indians at the time. And the Cubs obviously would end up winning the World Series. But this dude has played for everybody, including the Royals, including the Pirates and the Yankees, the Red Sox. He's with now the Cubs, everybody. But still got it. 4 strikeouts in 1 inning.
So I saw this. I believe this is from Tyler Milliken, who is. I just need to make sure that this is okay. Yeah, so he has a podcast. He's on 98.5, the Sports Hub. Apparently, Aroldis Chapman has retired 50 consecutive batters.
That's crazy.
It's an MLB record.
Yeah.
Case of Mondays for Father Time.
Yeah,
potentially.
Always.
I mean, my
we
goodness,
usually squeeze
Aroldis
Father
Chapman.
Time on there somewhere.
Yeah, well, he actually is on here a little bit later, but we'll get to that in a second. Case of the Mondays for a guy named Zach Sweet. He is a journalism student at the University of Missouri, and by the way, wanted to make this abundantly clear. This is the only time in my life, probably, that I will ever stick up for somebody who went to the University of Missouri, who is a University of Missouri fan. So Zach Sweet, he is a part of this Tiger pregame show, right? And they were doing game picks, as we often do on this show. And he was doing a game pick with Kansas and Missouri, and he actually picked Kansas to win. And afterwards, there was a Mizzou player who was at the press conference saying, "Hey, man, don't ever pick against us again. You know, open your eyes. You're stupid. You should always pick Mizzou, blah, blah, blah," that kind of thing. The kid's a journalism major. He has his own show. Look, we're homers, right? And it's kind of like a running bit about how I always pick KU to win and to cover. That's a joke, right? I'm obviously joking around. Also, you should never take my gambling advice. I'm the world's worst gambler. But it's obviously a joke, right? I understand how bad homerism is, but for players to be berating this guy afterwards in their press conferences saying that you should never pick against Mizzou again, he's doing his job as a journalist. So why would you insinuate, hey, never? I mean, I don't know. It's fascinating to me how Mizzou fans are attacking this kid named Zach Sweet by saying you shouldn't have picked KU to win. You know, who are you? Go leave, transfer out of here. We don't want you here. You're not a true Tiger. Blah 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 blah. The kid's doing his job. So
Yeah.
I don't know. How do you feel about
Oh,
this?
rough scene, man. I think now is the time, because I don't want to relive that game anymore, to transition to Case of the Mondays for K-State.
I would love to.
I don't think that it's necessarily going to erase this, but it kind of feels like I was talking to somebody about this a little bit earlier. While it's not the same game, and I have said many times how, after Mizzou left the conference, there was no longer a game to circle on the calendar. KU has lost enough years in a row to K-State to where it feels like now it's even more important. You got to beat them.
Oh, yeah.
You want that for the players and the coaches first and foremost, and we'll see what happens on October 25th. But this K-State team, Dan, it's a case of the Mondays for them, because they are looking more middling than usual as Military Academy comes in and knocks them off at the Little Apple.
Yes, and the Military Academy of the United States Army. The Army was not deployed in Manhattan, but they sent their football team, and they wound up winning. They beat them 24-21.
K-State 1-2 now.
By the way, same score as the Iowa State game. Kansas State, they paid Army $1.175 million to go in there and whoop up on them. How exciting. Which, granted, I guess we all kind of paid for them to go in there because we all pay taxes, right? But still, K-State paid Army to come in and beat them. Army, the week before, lost to Tarleton State. Sean, quick, tell me where Tarleton State is.
I know it's in Texas, and I'm going to guess that it is in Nacogdoches, Texas.
Take a guess and tell me, are they FBS or FCS?
FCS.
They are FCS. A team.
Am I right?
They are. I don't know if they're. I don't know what.
I gotta look that up, man. Dude, that was.
Are they in Tarleton, Texas? Is Tarleton, Texas even a place?
I was not right. They are in Stephenville, Texas. How dare I?
My next guess. Yeah, they lost to Tarleton State, and then Army comes in and whoops up on the Cats. So you love to see it.
Yeah, Case the Mondays for
it
Chris
gives me
Kleiman.
Confidence in our United States military once again to be able to beat them, because after they lost to Tarleton, you're like, man, our anybody can come and invade us now, because if the Army's losing to Tarleton State, I mean, I do not feel safe in my own country. But anyway,
because that's how
I
it
feel
works.
good. Yes, that's exactly how it works. You know this. Hey, Case of the Mondays, little local flavor here for El Dorado High School in Kansas. This is fun. Actually, I know the person who wrote this article. His name is Dylan Sherwood. So El Dorado was playing against Andale, and if you know anything about Kansas high school football, Andale has been a powerhouse for the last 10 years. They started getting really, really good back in 2015, 2016. Mason Fairchild is from Andale. He is actually playing the UFL, but in his offseason, which is now because the UFL is a spring season, he's actually back coaching, assistant coaching at Andale. Andale, I just want to read some stats to you. They recorded 417 total yards of offense and held El Dorado to only 68 yards. The final score of this game, 104-0.
Which I don't know if the score is more impressive or the fact that they only had 417 yards when scoring 104.
So here's the crazy part of it. Yeah, and that's
Every drive was a 5-yard drive.
You think it'd be like a right. You think it'd be maybe their kickoff return was just absolutely fantastic. I have no idea. So let me read through this. So quarterback Sam Harp, he accounted for the Indians' next 4 touchdowns, 3 rushing and a 38-yard pass to Cruz Kaiser, making it 40-0 with 2:07 left to play in the first quarter. 40-0 in the first quarter, right? Andale, then they matched its first quarter points with 40 in the second quarter, up 80-0 at halftime. At halftime, the JV took over, scored a couple touchdowns. Then the freshman squad took over, scored a few touchdowns as well. 104-0 was the final. And the JV and the freshman squad played half of the game.
Well, you mentioned Mason Fairchild playing in the UFL, and Jared Casey we had on the show on Friday when we were out at Hy-Vee. Shout out to everybody over there. Maybe next time we get Jared on, we should ask if he's sending out some film, or are you are you trying are you getting in contact with some GMs, some coaches, sending out some film and see if he's able to make that happen. But shout out to Casey. We always love going to Jared. Last one here, Ryan Clark. This has been weird, man. This guy, you feel like it's kind of a ticking time bomb at ESPN because he is in the news a lot. It doesn't seem that he's unbelievably well liked.
No, I don't, especially by the fans, right? And you could tell, especially after this most recent incident, by his co-workers as well. So first, I don't think we talked about this the last time. Ryan Clark, this is a couple weeks ago, said, this is a quote, "I don't think Tom Brady, I don't think Drew Brees, and I don't think Peyton Manning are generational talents." Let me repeat this. He doesn't think Tom Brady, Drew Brees, and Peyton Manning are generational talents. By the way, in that order, they're top 3 in passing yards and in passing touchdowns.
Right.
So how are they not generational talents? Ryan Clark got torched every time he played against these clowns.
And then?
So that's number one. And you should have seen the look on Stephen A. Smith when he was talking to him about this. Like, what are you even talking about? Then this is on, let's see, this was on Get Up 3 days ago on September 5th. Ryan Clark was talking to Peter Schrager. Peter Schrager was talking about the Thursday night football game of the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. Peter Schrager was saying that, hey, I thought CeeDee Lamb actually did have a good game, which he did. I mean, if you watched the beginning of that game, I thought CeeDee Lamb was really good hauling and everything. Obviously, just really tough catch at the end of the game, kind of cost the game for the Cowboys. Peter Schrager was talking about, how he thought CeeDee Lamb had a good game. And Ryan Clark says, yeah, there's a reason you thought he had a good game, and that's because that's the non-player in you saying that. I mean, what an absolute disrespectful thing to say to a guy who, look, I mean, we get it. Ryan Clark, you played football, but there's other people who didn't play football who know football better than you do. Peter Schrager, by the way, pushed back on this. He said, don't belittle me like this. I can come and say, as 3 ex-players are saying one thing and give an alternate perspective. And Ryan Clark then just ignored him. It's like,
Teddy
let me finish.
Dan Orlovsky.
Teddy Bruschi and Darren Orlovsky both were in there, saying that, I thought CeeDee Lamb didn't play well. Peter Schrager said, I actually thought he did play reasonably well, at least in the beginning of that game. And Ryan Clark's like, what do you know? You didn't play football. You know who else didn't play football? Bill Belichick.
Right.
Well, I'm sure he did in high school, right?
Really thought you were going to say Mike Greenberg.
Mike Greenberg. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that guy doesn't know ball. But here, that's the thing. Is like you don't have to be a football player in order to be a good football coach, right? Ryan Clark, you had your shine in the NFL. You had some cushy job at ESPN, being a talking head. Don't now you have some kind of God complex, like you know better than everybody because you played the game. That's not necessarily true. All right, okay. We watch the same games that you do. We're able to analyze the same games that you do. I played. I suited up in college. That doesn't. I never once have thought that I know better than any of my other peers who are in the KU beat. So anyway, that's just that's the thing that really frustrates me about Ryan Clark.
Last thing, real quick, Case of the Mondays for Father Time. A feel-good story to end our Case of the Mondays
right.
and spearhead us into a great rest of the week.
Yes, that's right. Kent Broussard, he is a part of the LSU Tiger Marching Band. Something interesting about Kent Broussard is the fact that he is 66 years old. When he was at least a teenager, I believe he had a child early, so he was never able to go to college, had to go right into the workforce, but always fascinated with the band. 66 years old, he said, you know what? I'm going to make it happen. So he enrolled at LSU, started playing the sousaphone, which, if in case you didn't know that, like true brass heads like myself, that is a marching tuba. Started practicing and wound up making the band. And now he's a 66-year-old freshman in the LSU marching band. Such a cool story.
Man, we should always end on a feel-good moment like
We
that.
should.
But yeah, it's part of a rough weekend for some people in the world of sports, as is always the case. But appreciate you tuning in to our Case of the Mondays. After this, we're talking Chiefs football as they fell to the Chargers in Week 1. Chiefs alone in last place of the AFC West. Don't hear that too often. That's all coming up. Thanks for watching on KansasNation.com and listening to ESPN Kansas City.
I'm Justice Finkley. You're watching KansasNation.com. Rock Chalk.
Kellerman and Dan Courtwright back with you. KansasNation.com and ESPN Kansas City. Doing the Lord's work. Gabe Boucher and Easton John. Appreciate them behind the scenes here, making sure that everything goes on relatively smoothly as it can for guys like you and guys like me.
Yes, making us look good. I know it's a tough job to do, but shout out to the guys back behind scenes.
Yeah, it's amazing how many different people you need to do your makeup every day, but they make it happen.
That's the majority of my day, right? It's I get here at 6 a.m. They start doing the makeup, and then it's always about crunch time. You know,
Chiefs,
it's very hard work.
Chiefs football, they are 0-1, and they are in sole possession of last place in the AFC West.
First
Daniel,
time since
Week 5 of 2021, I would guess.
That's right.
Okay, well, good to know. Yeah, Chiefs lose by 6 in Brazil to the Chargers. Wherever you want to take this to start, Xavier Worthy obviously had the injury early, which is frustrating because Chiefs wide receivers seem to be snake bitten these past couple of years, and the Chiefs were without him. Did see some good things, and I'll get into all of that. But your takeaways from this loss Friday night?
Yeah, I mean, I had a couple takeaways. Number one, obviously sucks that Xavier Worthy got injured. It would help if he weighed more than 100 pounds soaking wet, because he got taken out by Travis Kelce on a crossing mesh route. Very unfortunate. Hopefully his shoulder's going to be okay. I know right now he's kind of listed as day-to-day, so hopefully we get him by week 2, because we really need it, right? Because we don't have Rashee Rice in our wide receiver core. So right now our number one guy is Juju Smith-Schuster, the TikTok star. Yes, that Juju Smith-Schuster.
He is not our number one guy.
Who's the number one?
Hollywood.
Okay, sure.
Hollywood had
Fine.
10 catches.
He did. He had a good game. I'll give him that. Almost 100 yards, 99 yards. Let's see. Travis Kelce had a touchdown too. I thought Tyquan Thornton, by the way, Baylor legend. He looked good. I do have a couple of things that I did want to kind of get to, and I'll start with the negatives, I guess. Justin Herbert, by the way, looked really stout. I mean, he looked solid. 25 of 34, 318, 3 touchdowns. I mean, the guy was just all over the place. But I think that's more of a testament to the Chiefs' secondary, because of the fact that everyone else other than Trent McDuffie, I thought, looked really rusty. I did not think that they had their best game. Brian Cook, we saw him chasing a lot, right? We saw, different guys. Shamari Connor, I thought, didn't have a good game as well. So Trent McDuffie, I thought, played well, but you saw Quentin Johnston getting open a lot in the middle of the field. You saw
And you're still out on him, right?
I'm still out on Quentin Johnston too,
Good.
so that's why
5 for 79 and 2
that's why
touchdowns.
this is such a negative, is because the Chiefs secondary made Quentin Johnston look like a good football player. Do you know how hard that is to do, to make Quentin Johnston look like a good football player? So I thought the secondary was not good. Offensive line, a lot needs to be done, at least on the right side. Juwan Taylor being the second highest paid player on the Chiefs roster still frustrates me.
I know you love watching him play football.
I shoot out of bed at night every night because I just
because you have to
remember
pee. I mean, you brought that up
because I
last
have to
week.
pee, and
yeah.
also because
In
I
the middle
remember
of the
that
night, you
Juwan
have to,
Taylor is
yeah.
the second highest paid player on the Chiefs roster as of right now, right behind Patrick Mahomes. Man, I do not like watching Juwan Taylor play football. Because of the fact that, yes, he gets penalty after penalty after penalty. I believe he was the most penalized player at least 2 years ago. Maybe he even was last year. And because of the fact that he's not even good at blocking, he's trying to get the jump on the guys. That's why he keeps on getting these penalties. He's trying to get the jump on them, and he still isn't able to block them correctly. He is not good on that right side. Now, I did think I thought Kingsley Suamataia looked okay in the middle, but there's still a lot of questions to be had sort of in that front area, right? You saw Patrick Mahomes getting some pressure on him. And yeah, sure, they do have Khalil Mack, and they have a good front seven. The Chargers do. So, it just makes you kind of wonder of, okay, when is the Juwan Taylor timer going to be finished, and when are they going to try to maybe ship him off to get
It's
as
not
much
going to be
as they
anytime
possibly
soon, right?
can? I know. That's the thing. It's like you're going to have to try to find a team who's willing to pay that much. But again, here's the thing. Wisconsin was willing to pay Jeff Grimes a bunch of money. So there's always some sucker out there who's willing to pay for somebody who's not all that hyped up to
Quentin
be.
Johnston,
Is that too mean?
5 for 79 and 2 touchdowns. If you missed our show on Friday, I talked about how he's definitely a very good player, and Daniel, for some reason, was against that. I guess Daniel thinks that he's washed. He's 24 years old.
It's not washed. He just doesn't have.
It's his third
he can't catch
season.
a
He's got
ball.
the size. He's got the ability to make plays. I don't see the issues with that. The Chiefs' run defense was really good. Amarion Hampton held just 48 yards on 15 carries. But you mentioned Herbert, 318, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He looked comfortable. I mean, he looked like a top 5 quarterback in the league on Friday. And when you look at the Chiefs, of course, you didn't have Worthy the majority of it, which is noteworthy. Hollywood's got some speed, but more of a possession type receiver. Travis Kelce did get a touchdown, which was good to see. 2 catches, 47 yards, and the score. You didn't have that over-the-top ability. And again, you're down Worthy, you're down Rice. Mahomes is probably over this. But again, he had some magic with his feet as well. 57 yards on 6 carries and a touchdown. He just finds a great way to contort his body, and also had a touchdown through the air, as I mentioned, to Kelce. But what's your level of concern now? Worthy could be a dislocated shoulder, potentially going to play with a brace from what I've seen. Chiefs could use him, but just in general, a game the Chiefs are favored, they lose, and now you got the Eagles on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, my concern level's higher. I think, obviously, the Chiefs, they probably do have a chip on their shoulder after losing the Super Bowl that badly to the Eagles last year, but the Eagles still look really good, and they did lose a lot of pieces from that Super Bowl squad. I believe they lost 10 starters from that squad from last year. They were able to re-up on some other things, and, we haven't seen the full I guess, potential from A.J. Brown this year. Devontae Smith, I thought, looked good in that game against the Cowboys. But my main concern is the fact that, look, if Hollywood Brown is going to be injured, and even if he's playing injured, the Chiefs' wide receiver core makes me nervous because of the fact that the Chiefs weren't able to establish a run that well, right? The leading rusher for the Chiefs last game on Friday was Patrick Mahomes with 57, right? Isaiah Pacheco, bad game. 5 carries, 25 yards. Kareem Hunt, 5 carries, 16 yards. So looking at that, you go, man, the 2 running backs that the Chiefs have as of right now, they have Rashad Smith. He's not going to get any playing time because your 2 bell cows essentially are going to be Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt. Both of those guys less than 30 yards rushing, not able to establish the run. Really concerning with a banged up and also suspended wide receiver core for the Chiefs. So it does make me a little nervous. I think the Chiefs right now, I believe the line is out currently for the Eagles. I haven't looked on DraftKings yet to see what the line is, but still makes you just a little nervous about that game, considering the fact that, yeah, they are Super Bowl reigning champions, and they do have Jalen Hurts, who looked calm, cool, and collected against the Cowboys. So I don't know. It makes me a little bit concerned. My concern level is higher than it was before this Chargers game.
Yeah, Eagles, wherever you're looking, it seems like are either 1 or 1.5 point favorites at Arrowhead, 325 on Sunday. And yeah, I think probably the biggest thing for me in terms of concerns of this Chiefs loss is not the fact that they lost to the Chargers, who I think are going to be a good team and certainly a competitor in the AFC West, and it's not even the fact that both the Broncos and the Raiders both won. It's what I saw last night between the Ravens and the Bills. And yeah, you can point to the defenses of those two teams. Oh, those defenses got picked apart. Well, that's what good quarterbacks do. And Mahomes played well, but you can just tell with an aging Travis Kelce and not having Rice and Worthy, Mahomes just doesn't quite have, at least he didn't on Friday, the weapons that he generally does. And it seemed like Lamar and Josh Allen were two guys who were just going up and down no matter what. Granted, it's one game and we're going to dissect it 6 ways to Sunday like we always do. But just saying, can the Chiefs get Worthy back even for this Eagles game, and how much of a difference would that make? And as we talked about, the schedule for the Chiefs is a bear as well. You don't like starting 0-1. It's been 4 years since the Chiefs were at the bottom of the division. Yeah, you're just a game back and a lot of opportunities ahead, but credit the Chargers and Justin Herbert for getting it done. By the way, this was an interesting thing that I saw on social media over the weekend. Josh Allen is referred to as Josh Allen, right?
I believe so.
Who are some other athletes that are referred to almost exclusively by their full name?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right? Because Justin Herbert would probably be one.
LaDainian Tomlinson.
No, LT.
I know, yeah, but do you call him LaDainian? Okay, sure, yeah. All right,
No, your full name.
Yeah, because you never say, "Oh, yeah, Josh played great." It's
like
always Josh Allen.
There's Lamar. I mean,
T.Y. Hilton.
T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah.
T.Y.
No, nobody calls him T.Y. Nobody says, "Oh, great catch there by T.Y."
You are pulling out the weirdest names.
I'm trying to
now.
think of names that
the bottom line is most people are either their first name or a nickname. I'm going to let you gnaw on that for a little bit. But Josh Allen is always referred to as Josh Allen.
Isaiah Pacheco.
Patch.
No.
Pop.
Oh, yeah, they call him Poppy, I guess. But they call him first down by Pacheco. Yeah, Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Kelce. I mean, it's last name Lamar Jackson. Again, Lamar Jackson, Lamar. Jalen Hurts would maybe be one.
Jalen Hurts is always one. Well, yeah, anybody named Jalen, right? Like Jalen Ramsey, because Jalen is such a common name now. True. You know, like Jalen Wilson. You know, you gotta clarify with
name one more Jalen.
Jalen Rose, who started it all.
Name 20 more Jalens.
Let's see, Jalen Carter, Jalen.
After this, we are going to talk some Royals baseball, and then we're going to break down the rest of the NFL slate, any noteworthy games, and some potential college football talk as well. KansasNation.com. Thanks for listening as well on ESPN Kansas City.
I'm DJ Withers, and you're watching KansasNation.com.
Welcome back, KansasNation.com. Appreciate you joining us here on Rock Chalk Sports and for listening on ESPN Kansas City. We'll be back tomorrow, of course, and all week we're going to have coverage not only breaking down KU football. Their next game is going to be September 20th at home against West Virginia, but Chiefs, Royals chatter as well, and keep you abreast on everything else going on in the world of sports. Let's talk about the Royals. We haven't been able to be joined by David Lesky from Inside the Crown, but check him out. Give him a subscription. Great insider. The Royals are 73-70, so they're 3 above 500, and they're only 2 back in the wild card race, but a 4-5 homestand didn't exactly make up a lot of ground. And now the Royals are going to have to be road warriors. 13 of their final 19 are on the road. They're facing Cleveland right now. That game scoreless in the bottom of the first. And then you got Philadelphia, who's an 83-win team before you come back home. So tough for the Royals. Bobby Witt Jr. has missed each of the last 2 games due to back spasms. And I'm going to double check right now to see if he's in the lineup because that's a guy the Royals need. For what it's worth, the Guardians are 1 game back of the Royals in the win column, so just a half game back as well. So the Guardians are certainly still fighting for a point. No Bobby Witt Jr. again in the lineup for Kansas City, so that's going to be an extra challenge for them. Cole Reagans, though, a start yesterday, rehab start, 7 strikeouts, and got up to 97 miles per hour. That is great news. Perhaps the Royals can get a couple starts out of him, which could be clutch down the stretch. You're not going to have Chris Bubich, who's out for the year. the Royals still in the thick of it, 2 back, but going to have to do a lot of their damage, Dan, on the road.
Yeah, 100%. By the way, shout out to Carter Jansen, who got his first career hit as a Royal. Local kid, still living with his parents up in KC. Shout out to him. A lot of work to be done. I have a good feeling that the Cleveland Guardians are going to collapse just because that's what they've been kind of doing in the last.
And they have the dumbest team name in all of sports.
The Guardians, yeah.
Yes.
Bring back the Cleveland Spiders. Cleveland Spiders
Bring it
is
back.
a much better name.
Bring it back.
Now, I know you don't want the history of, oh, well, they were the worst team in MLB history. Who cares? Make it your own. Spiders is a cool name.
Any other
any team who's thinking about changing their team name, come to me first. I got it. I got you.
It does seem like there should be more spiders out there. Any noteworthy NFL
Richmond,
scores
that's it.
aside from the one that I brought up before break? 34-32, the Steelers over the Jets. Aaron Rodgers saying post-game he's happy to beat everybody associated with the Jets, and he was fantastic, surprisingly. 4 touchdowns, no interceptions in a revenge game. Also a revenge game for Justin Fields, who was really good as well. That was the highest scoring affair until Sunday Night Football, but interesting there as maybe Rodgers is in fact back.
Yeah, I mean, case of the Mondays for Father Time once again, right? I mean, Aaron Rodgers looked good. The classic double revenge game, right, with Justin Fields and Aaron Rodgers just flip-flopping, switching places. I think Justin Fields looked good too.
You know me, man. I've been all about Justin Fields.
You have been, and power to you, man. I think he's got what it takes to be a true starter in the NFL. I really do. Now, granted, he's on the Jets, so it's hard to really become a star when you're on the Jets. But yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, I like Justin Fields a lot. Shout out to Aaron Rodgers, man. I was wrong about you. You're not too old. Now,
yeah, it's 1 week. We'll see.
Again, the other 17 more weeks that you got to get through, Aaron. And those Pittsburgh winters can get real rough if you're in an outside stadium. So that's all I'll say about that. You also had the Tom Brady Bowl with the Raiders and the Patriots. Who do you think he was cheering for in that one? He's a part owner of the Raiders, but also, you know, Patriots.
Yeah, that's
Raiders did win that game,
that
though.
Belichick Patriots thing's getting weird, too, with him saying, I'm not allowed in their building, so their staffers aren't allowed in ours regarding UNC.
Yeah, it is weird. I mean, well, maybe I think Jordan. Really,
right.
I think that was her rule. She said, "I don't want any expatriates in our building," which that's like most places in America. I thought Jaden Daniels looked good against the Giants. That was a fun game, 21-6. Jaguars, Panthers, Jaguars. I thought Travis Hunter showed out in his first game. I thought he was really good. He's on one of my fantasy teams, and apparently we're not counting defensive stats, so whatever, it's fine. Also, I got some game picks for you. I know that tonight it's a battle in the NFC North between the Minnesota Vikings and the Chicago Bears. This is going to be a fun one. Right now, the Minnesota Vikings are a 1.5 point favorite according to DraftKings. I know if you look other places, the Chicago Bears are a 1.5 point favorite. So this line's kind of all over the place. The public seems to really like the Chicago Bears. They're at minus 118 at plus 1.5. Money line right now, they're at minus 108. I like the Vikings in this one. I think the Vikings are going to win by probably a touchdown.
By the way, last night I'm watching football. I thought of you.
What's that?
40-38.
Yes.
In that Bills-Ravens game.
Scorigami.
No.
Oh.
It ended up being 41-40, right?
Yeah.
It was 40-38. 41-40, the Bills won. And the line at times was either Ravens minus 1.5 or Bills minus 1.5.
Right.
If you had taken Bills when they were minus 1.5 instead of the money line,
that's right,
you would have been not happy.
That's
Just saying.
True. I would have been not happy.
Hey, what do you do? What do you do when they offer you the point?
Actually, you take the point.
Do it with me. Do it.
You take the point. I get it. By the way, I did have a bet on that game. It was the over. Oh man, what a great hit. But yeah, okay. Back to the game picks for this game. I love the Vikings in this one. I think J.J. McCarthy is the real deal. I think Justin Jefferson is going to have a big-time game. I just love their coach, man. I just love Minnesota's coach. I don't think the Ben Johnson era is going to get off to a hot start. I know there was a lot of issues in the preseason. I guess we'll put it that way. Caleb Williams, still a generational talent. Give me the over in this game. It's at 43.5. The public likes the under. I like the over. I think this is going to be a high-scoring affair.
Give me the Bears and the under. How about that?
Really?
Total opposite. Bears, I'm going to take the 1.5 points and under 43.5. Real quick before we get out of here, a look at some Big 12 scores and some top 25 scores of note. The Big 12, what a win for Baylor, your boys. In double overtime, they were able to knock off SMU 48-45. SMU pretty much controlled this one throughout. It wasn't necessarily a blowout. Baylor kept it close, but SMU led for the majority of it. Bears, after losing to Auburn in week 1, get that first victory. They're 1-1. Also a rivalry game at Jack Trice Stadium. Number 16 Iowa State over Iowa, 16-13. Pretty much what you expected for a final score on that front. Texas Tech.
I had the under in that game.
You and I,
you knew damn well I was going to hit the under in that game.
You and I joked about Texas Tech being 48.5-point favorites over Kent State. Well, they win by 48, 62-14. Cincinnati over Bowling Green, ho hum, as was Colorado over Delaware.
Oklahoma
Oregon.
State.
Woo! 69-3. The Ducks clip Oklahoma State. Case of the Mondays for Mike Gundy.
Is this the year? I mean, look, Mike Gundy is
he's 40.
He's so married. He's
a 40-year-old man.
He's so married to the University of Oklahoma State, or Oklahoma State University, I guess is the way you should say it. He's so married to that school. I don't think they'll ever fire him, even if he's losing by 70 freaking points.
They haven't had their quarterback, to be fair, but yeah, that's pretty bad. But he is a man. He's 40. Utah blows out Cal Poly. Houston wins at Rice. We talked about K-State going down at home to Army. Other noteworthy scores: Mississippi State knocks off number 12 Arizona State in the Big 12, and West Virginia, KU's next opponent, they lose at Ohio. So they're going to be. We should check. Do they play next week, West Virginia?
I believe they do.
So they probably will have one more game and an opportunity for KU, with Coach Leipold being so good after bye week since he's been here, to pick up a victory over the Mountaineers after the first one. Backyard brawl, West Virginia and Pitt coming up this week. And they're going to have to focus on that. So KU's potentially going to have a leg up on that front. For Gabe Boucher and for Easton John and Dan Courtwright, I'm Sean Kellerman saying thank you for watching. You can catch us tomorrow for Rock Chalk Sports right here on KansasNation.com and ESPN Kansas City.